I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I will call this meeting Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024 to order. Chair will make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Chair will also make a motion to approve the consent agenda A through I.
Second.
Looking at it, I don't see anything on there that is out of the ordinary or that needs a explanation. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Let the record note that Mr. Commissioner Broom is not here today, but he is on his way to Grand Junction for a state board that he sits on for the wild horses. So they've asked him to sit on there, and he's representing Moffat County and making sure we have a voice at that table. And so that's where he is today. All right. Any public comments? Yeah, public comment, Mr. Beck?
Just a comment in terms of Senate Bill 197.
Yeah, come to the front and mention your name and
Yes, sir.
please.
Ray Beck, Craig, Colorado. I just wanted to make the comment on the Senate Bill 197 that I think got approved through the state, with Dylan Roberts being one of the sponsors on the water rights for the Tri-State and XL. So I thought that was a good thing, and I'm sure you guys had some input on that. So
Yeah,
I think keeping those water rights, and I think it's effective to 2050.
Yep.
Yeah, so that'll be a good thing for future use, hopefully.
for sure. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Any other public comment? Hearing none. All right, we'll move on. General discussion. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I do have a couple of things. One, I wanted to let everyone know that Moffat County is going to be hosting the Building Resilient Economies and Coal Communities site visit, the first site visit for this year. In June, we'll be holding that. I'm one of the 20 people in the country that was appointed for the BREC Coalition. And so last year we did 2 site visits, one in West Virginia, one in Wyoming, and then our virtual meetings. And this year we'll host the first in-person visit in Moffat County. And then we're wrapping up the Dinosaur and Rangeley Rural Technical Assistance Project for developing outdoor recreation, a plan kind of between Rangeley and Dinosaur, and in opening up some of that OHV and river stuff down there. And then there's a new mural at Maybell Park.
Yes, there is.
That's all I got.
Drive by there and see it. It's nice.
I'll be just in time for the Maybell Heritage Days.
I'll say that, going to what Mr. Beck said about Senate Bill 197, Dylan Roberts told us that he wouldn't even sign on that bill unless the 3 county commissioners from Moffat County said it was okay. And Jeff mostly, worked on that with Tri-State. And the original bill that got passed, for the most part, is what we submitted at the beginning. They added all this stuff to it and then came back to the original thing that Jeff really worked on. And so he put hours and hours into that. And so, it was kudos to him, and it was a win for us, I think, for sure. I've said it many times, that water, all the buildings, the employees, all that stuff came with Tri-State. It's theirs, but that water was here prior to Tri-State ever getting here, and that water should stay here after them leaving. That should be something that was Moffat County's, the Sioux Valley's water prior to them ever getting here. So appreciate that. Okay. Staff reports. Number 1, Office of Development Services, Neil Binder. Bid recommendation for the ice arena installation retrofit. And before Neil starts, we'll say that last meeting we signed a lease, or we are in the process of getting the lease signed with somebody leasing the ice arena. that has some big plans for us. And, you know, that was something that you helped us with and these set of commissioners did, so.
Yeah, we've got a lot of things going on out there, it seems like. And so this was something that we had as, two-phase process to get the insulation into the roof. After gathering bids, we kind of had to go back to the drawing board, and figure out, because we had only budgeted for about 110 in the two phases. With this moving forward with a lease, I felt like maybe it's something we needed to look at trying to get done in 1 year versus 2 years. So we're able to find the funds within that budget to go ahead and get this done this year versus spanning it over two phases. So with all of that said, on March 15th, we went out to bid for this installation retrofit at the ice arena. And we closed those bids on April 3rd. And we opened two bids is what we got. One from Phoenix Insulation out of Hayden and Charchalis Construction from here in Moffett County, based out of Craig. They were actually fairly competitive bids. I was shocked. I didn't know exactly what we would get. Phoenix came in at 179,000, and Charchalis actually had three different bids within his package. And they actually, all three of them were our lowest bids. We chose to go with the spray insulation kit. After conferring, we decided that that was the best way to go for the longevity of that building. And so that spray foam insulation bid came in at $178,000 from Charchalis. So that would be my recommendation. We did have two other bids from Charchalis. One was a less of what we had spec'd. It was a general liner on the insulation package, basically not puck worthy, if you will. And then the spec, which was a Lamtech liner, which has some infrastructure within that liner that saves the insulation from the pucks. Spray foam, you're not going to have that issue because it hardens and those pucks will deflect anyway. So it was slightly more to go with the spray foam, but I think that the longevity of this building and with knowing what that use is going to be, that's the way to go.
Okay. And so where'd you come up with this $68,000? Where are you pulling this out of the budget from? Is this coming out of Barry's budget?
No. So we had some ARPA funds left,
Okay.
along with what we had already put aside for this project.
Okay.
So we were able to keep it all within the budget that I had versus trying to find it out of other budgets.
Right. Okay.
So,
Which is, I mean,
Thanks.
it needs to be done. I just don't want to.
yeah,
Come December, we're trying to supplement everybody's budget and trying to figure out how to break even and have to, rob Peter to pay Paul. So,
yes.
Yep.
And we'll see future savings on that too, because of the operation being
Yep.
with a third party and
Yes.
year-round ice and.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the bid for Charchalis Construction in the amount of $178,000 for the ice arena insulation project.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Senor.
Thank you.
All right, next on the list is, under presentation is, next week is the National Day of Prayer. And so we have Julie Groby, Loretta Earl here to present for us this proclamation.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Glad you guys are here. And I'll just turn it over and Julie's going to give us a kind of history and review of what this day is and what it represents.
Right. and thank you so much for letting us do this. The annual National Day of Prayer was established by federal law in 1952 when the United States Congress passed a joint resolution, which was signed by President Harry Truman. The law was amended in 1988 and signed by Ronald Reagan, specifically designating the first Thursday in May as the official National Day of Prayer. Through the years, our presidents have made proclamations declaring the first Thursday in May as the National Day of Prayer. Our governors have declared it as the Colorado Day of Prayer, and our county commissioners have proclaimed it the Moffat County Day of Prayer. So we come before our county commissioners today to proclaim May 2nd, 2024 as the Moffat County Day of Prayer. Our local event will be held here at the Moffat County Courthouse as well as at New Creation Church on May 2nd from noon to 1. It will be live streamed from the church on our Facebook page, National Day of Prayer, Moffat County. The event will be filled with prayer for our nation, our governmental leaders, the military, business, education, media, churches, and families.
Perfect. We appreciate that, and something that obviously I hold dear to my heart. So I think it's a great thing to have here at the courthouse. I think it's a great thing. It's one day a year. I think it's a great thing, and glad you're doing it. So this is the first time I'm going to miss this thing in I think 20 years or something, and so I hate that, but appreciate you guys doing it.
I'd like to say that
Yeah.
with it being over Facebook, there's people all over the world that are able to see it.
Yep.
And see it recognized here in the county.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Appreciate that for sure. And for the older population, the church works better,
Yes.
right? So they can sit down and not have to stand for that whole hour of.
So people.
We're getting there.
Yeah. Nope, I think it's a
You
great
look where you
idea.
know
Fit
it.
everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your?
Right.
They're going to read I'm not going to read the proclamation. They're going to read it on that day. And so.
Mr. Chair, I would move to proclaim May 2nd, 2024 as the Moffat County Day of Prayer.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Kathy.
Appreciate it. All right. Well, third, I don't see anybody from advocates here. So we will skip number 3. And move to number 4. AG&C, Matt Solomon's here today to give us a grant program update. Sir, thanks for being here.
Commissioners, my name's Matt Solomon. I'm here with AG&C. I'm here for 2 quick updates before we jump on the Grant Navigator stuff. Northwest Colorado Energy Initiative with AG&C. Quick update for you guys. One, the first survey we've put together is complete, and we plan to begin circulating that May 1st. And any help you guys can offer to help us with that circulation is huge. We'll have a PDF we can send you with a QR code and a link to the survey. It's 29 questions with some education infused into it, and takes about 15 minutes to complete. I think SurveyMonkey says 14, but we'll round up. Tri-State and Trapper have been fantastic to work with. They're going to help us circulate it to staff. Colorado School of Mines and Colorado Mesa University are both helping with this as well. So the partnership coming together in this effort has been fantastic. Another quick update, we got a second grant, I believe you guys are aware of, with Communities Leap, and Ray Beck, the JOLT committee, came on board as a partner for that one. And we'll get the details in our first meeting tomorrow. But the idea of this grant is a modeling exercise to look at economic development, workforce, and so forth, and how different ideas can play together to see what the future in Craig is. My goal is to find a multifaceted approach to replace a single source economy with a multi-source economy if possible. But we'll see what the restraints of that program will be. Finally, we come to the Grant Navigator program. Tiffany, the director of AG&C, has infused this program with some new energy with myself and Mr. Lynn. My role is that of outreach to connect with you guys and figure out what your project list, what your needs are. And Mr. Lynn's role is going to be that of the technical side and helping you however you need, whether it's finding sources of IIJA or IRA grants that can help support your projects or help you proofread your applications or write them or whatever. And of course, with the Economic Development District side of AG&C, Tiffany and Mr. Lynn have a plethora of resources for you. So I'm your new point of contact for that stuff, and I appreciate you guys giving me time on the microphone.
For sure. Any questions on that?
Mm-mm. We'll get you a list,
And we'll talk later.
How big a list?
the whole
As
thing,
big as we can
the
get.
whole thing.
I would say capacity would be the limitation.
So,
So maybe we should talk to staff and not you guys. So that way we can get the reality.
yeah, right. That is probably true.
I would say limit the list by creativity.
Yeah, for sure.
We don't, sometimes capacity is limited by funding and you don't know if you can't do it if you don't have the money and if you don't ask. So if there's a way we can help you with that creative approach to find the funding so that we can get some extra things done here in Craig and in Moffett County, then let's do it.
And I think it's important too to have the whole list so that as things come up, if something doesn't fit today, you at least kind of know what some of the projects are. So if something else comes across your desk, you know, even if we have to do our own work on it,
Absolutely.
we don't always hear all the opportunities.
And I think there's a ton of opportunities coming right now. And I know you met her, but last week when we were at, the Energy Symposium or, there in Rifle, the new director of DOLA was there, Maria.
Yep.
And I got to meet her and, you know, that according to that Energy Symposium, severance money this year should be at an all-time high. Right. I mean, that's what they told us, an all-time high. And so it'd be interesting to see how that comes, and so we can maybe use that money to leverage against other money to get more money to do one of these projects or multiple of these projects. So I think, the money's there. We just got to put our heads together and make it happen. Yeah.
And the way the state's divvied up the districts for the Grant Navigator program is they've done it by DOLA COG district. So Dana is our DOLA contact and we're working closely with him. I meet with the state once a month. I meet with Dana once a month. And Dana's a huge advocate for Northwest Colorado and he wants to work with us to help you guys find the resources you need, whether it's a local match so that you can find matching funds for these federal grants or finding DOLA resources to help you out. So he's a good one to have in our backyard.
For sure. You know, I told Maria there, and this is probably not gonna be popular, but you know, I said, man, DOLA's wanting to hand out all these grants for housing. Okay. I mean, let's just build 1 million homes across the state of Colorado. But we don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the grocery stores. We don't have all these things. And to think that, if we build these houses, all these grocery stores are gonna come. Like, that's crazy, right? And I look at it even now in Craig, you know, Hayden's building how many homes? Hundreds of homes, right? And then if we do a housing development, where is Hayden gonna go get their groceries at? They're not driving to Steamboat. And their grocery store is so small, they're coming here, right? And so I told her, I said, hey, before you guys just keep handing money out to housing development, we should really plan the future. Let's plan growth. Let's not just have growth and not plan it. And who knows if it landed on, good ear, but man, it was something that I feel like we're going to get in trouble. We're going to grow so fast and we're not going to be able to keep up. And from the county's perspective, from my perspective, I shouldn't say the county's, my perspective, you have all this growth and then now the county is going to lose 47% of its budget, but has to maintain more people than it did prior because we had all this growth. How does that work? Because they're not coming here to build big businesses. They're coming here, they're working in Steamboat, they're doing all these things. The city is going to have growth. Their sales tax is going to keep on going. That doesn't mean property tax keeps going. So we lose 47% and have 3,000 more people to take care of with 47% less of our budget. And so it's one of those conversations that I don't know what's the right and wrong, but it's a conversation that has to take place. We can't just grow and not know how we're going to take care of it. Right. And, so I think it's one of those conversations that has to be at the forefront of in our tables here now, not later, but now, so anyway.
That's why you've got the broad shoulders, Commissioner.
Take it on. Yeah. Yeah. Criticism and all.
Thank you for the time this morning,
appreciate
and
you.
we'll stay in touch.
Thank you.
All right, number 5, land use boards. Mr. Hinkemeyer is going to talk about resolution 2024-46, a no net loss of private land policy.
26 or 46?
46. Did I say 26?
No,
Yeah.
my thing from Jeff says 26.
Oh, it's 46. Yeah.
No,
We question Jeff. We never question Aaron.
there you go. I'm Steve Hinkmar. I'm chairman of the Moffett County Land Use Board. And we were asked by the commissioners to take a look at what was on the books for our no net loss of private lands policy. So a little bit of history. Back in 94, when the first land use plan came out, that was a part of this no net loss plan was a part of that policy. It was re-upped in 2001 when all of the 2001 land use policy was put in Appendix G, added in 2012. But it needed a little updating. And some of the reasons it needed updating is it did not take into account NGOs. And in the past, we've had a NGO buy a property, do the closing, and then immediately turn it over to a federal land. And the only reason that was done was to circumvent your policy, unfortunately. So I thought I'd just kind of highlight what's in the resolution. Federal, state, nonprofit, surface and mineral acquisitions and disposal should result in no net loss of private land ownership. No net losses of private land shall be evaluated on a deal by deal basis and not on a accrual basis over time. Some of the agencies think that 40 or 50 years ago, they struck some deals that those still ought to be on the books, and that's not our thought. So, there shall be an equal or greater exchange in acres or value in favor of private property ownership in Moffett County. And there should be a net neutral ownership pattern in Moffett County. So buying up big blocks. We have ranchers and farmers and recreationists that make a living or have fun out there on all of the public lands, and to have them blocked off by ownership would not be a good thing. As Moffett County consults, cooperates, and coordinates with federal agencies, state agency, and NGOs, we request coordination prior to land being offered for sale, purchase, or exchange. Moffett County shall be afforded the opportunity to rezone or otherwise regulate the new use of such lands prior to conveyance as it pertains to land which is currently or will be privately owned through an exchange or a conveyance. So we'd just like you guys to have the opportunity to weigh in. Moffett County supports the federal agencies implementing their land disposal policies established in their respective resource plans, as well as land exchanges consistent with this policy. There is a policy for particularly the BLM, who's one of the biggest landholders in the county. They do have a disposal plan on what to do with some of these isolated blocks, and there's lots of isolated blocks. So, if a federal, state, or nonprofit cannot honor Moffat County's no net loss policy, it shall provide in writing the reasoning for continuing the land acquisition contrary to this policy, including an analysis of the social and economic impact of the county. So gives you, the commissioners, a little bit of wiggle room to understand what's going on and make some appropriate directional changes, perhaps, in this policy. But there are several exchanges going on in the state of Colorado right now that are being led by NGOs with the intent of turning that over to federal land authorities. So we thought these were good changes. Moffat County's policy was taken up by most of the western counties when it first came out. They've all since amended their resolutions to adopt certain pieces and policies of this. There are a few counties that have looked at the NGO issue. There's a lot of counties that have looked at, how do you judge something? Well, if it's a BLM land exchange, it might take 5 or 6 years. But as long as there's a plan and you guys can see the plan, so we just want to give you the option for it. So that was the thinking behind it. The land use board is all in concurrence with this, even the state and federal folks that are on the land use board participated in this. They don't particularly like it, but they understand it, being Moffat County residents themselves. So that's our recommendation to the commissioners, or is put into this resolution.
No, you have any thoughts?
I'll just note, when you talked about like the length of time that it can take for that federal land transfer, one of the things of having an NGO come in and purchase the land and then donate back or transfer back eliminates that time. So it can be done fairly quickly, and it eliminates some of those extra processes that the federal and state government have to go through before doing anything with the land. So I think this just gives us more opportunity to not wake up one morning and say, oh, we have thousands and thousands of acres that could potentially be off of our tax rolls.
Yeah. I think it's important that that our constituents know that, 60% of our land is federally, state owned, all this. Only 40% is owned by or managed by private entities. And so, doing that. Now, the argument's always been, and where I struggle with a lot, is that I hate to put my nose in the business of a landowner that wants to sell his property, and the biggest bang for his buck can be the fish and game. Let's just use them as an example, right? To say, well, we don't like that idea because we don't want them to own more property. So, there's a landowner rights, and then there's this, we understand we only have 40% that we're trying to figure out. So it is a very thin ice, I guess, is where you're dealing with. And I've always taken, I think we've always taken the idea that we're not telling the landowner what they can do. We're trying to put the pressure on the state agency or the federal agency that, hey, if you're going to buy that property, which that's fine, but you need to give up this property or vice versa, and not telling the landowner what they can and can't do, but really putting pressure on the agency to give back to the community. Don't just keep taking the land. And we got some fights coming. Colorado is the largest landowner in Moffat County. Who's going to be buying their property? Who's going to be doing these things? And so there are some things that as we work through this, that we need something along these lines in place, and appreciate all your guys' hard work on that.
So there were examples, Tony, where where people had bought, particularly NGOs, had bought up land blocks and created a PILT type subsidy back to the county to account for those lost tax revenues.
Gotcha.
We did talk to the main landman with Colorado at Tri-State's annual meeting, and I think we have a pretty good conversation going there. If there's going to be any changes here, they'll be talking to us.
So, I appreciate the land use board and all the work you guys do on there, so. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I would move to adopt resolution 2024-46, no net loss of private lands policy as presented.
Second, I would put in there the replacing of Appendix G, Moffett County Public Lands, if that's okay. Plan. Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
I'm gonna skip back to, go ahead. What do you got?
I can do it at the very end. You can do it
Okay.
at the end.
So go back. I don't see victims advocates here. So we'll still move forward, I think. So what they've come to us, asking that, April 24th, 2024 as Denim Day in Moffett County, Colorado. And we've done this in the past. We've set this, and this is the attention of sexual assault and rape and trying to get it. The whole point of this is, it didn't matter what they were wearing, they're victims the sheriff is here. We have a lot of these cases in Moffett County. And a lot of issues and a lot of things. And so it's a big deal. I think it's something that's important for us to do. And so, even though they're not here, we'll go ahead and, if your pleasure is, move forward with this.
Yep, I think it's a good way to draw attention. With that, Mr. Chair, I would move to proclaim April 24th, 2024 as Denim Day in Moffett County.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. All right.
The last thing I was just going to add, we do have a survey online right now for our multipurpose event center. We had several stakeholder meetings with users and like our fair board and college rodeo and others throughout the community. And we would like to hear from the rest of the community through that survey. You can find that on our Facebook, Moffett County, Colorado, or we can go ahead and get a link put on our front page of our website as well.
Perfect.
If we don't already have that.
Yeah, no one likes to do surveys, but it's it's short and it's a necessity when you're trying to do these events to kind of get the feeling of the county and the city of what we're doing. So.
And that feasibility study, they're hoping to have stuff for the community to kind of get eyes on some of their thoughts and ideas during Grand Old West Days.
All right. That is all we have. Next meeting scheduled Tuesday, May 14th, 2024.